Alright folks, so we're going to do my favorite experiment so far, and this one's really fun. There's a lot of moving parts, and I think the final result is the best result I've seen on these experiments. So the order of the video is actually going to be a little bit different than usual. What I'm going to do first is I'm going to show you what we're building first. I'm going to explain the science behind it, and then I'm actually going to show you the final result. After all of that, then I'll show you how to build it exactly. It'll make sense as it goes along. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be building a device to visualize sound, the effects of sound. Alright? And we're going to need a few different things actually. And the things that we're going to need include first a laser of some sort. The laser that I'm using is actually a laser level that like carpenters use so that they can level up different pieces of wood and whatnot. Any pointer laser will work. Let me show you what it looks like now. You can see the laser like this. Do you see how mine has a line in it? That's because of the special device. It's a line leveler. You can use any laser that just, see the dot? That's all you need is just the dot. So don't worry about that, any pointer laser. We're going to be using an X-Acto knife, which is a really sharp knife to cut something. So please parental supervision on that. And for most of the experiment actually. We're going to be using this stretchy, I think it's called a TerraBand. It's a TerraBand. This is an activity band that people use for exercising. You can see it's really stretchy. People they'll use it to build muscle, to stretch, to even run with it, I think. A lot of fun stuff. If you don't have this around the house, you should be able to make do with a balloon. You can just cut a balloon up. We're going to be using some tape. Any type of tape will work. And a piece of mirror, alright? So coincidentally, at my house, I had broken mirror by accident, and I thought this was really bad luck. However, I needed this for this experiment, and only a few days later I actually made use of my broken mirror. So I think that's actually good luck now. But I just took a piece of the broken mirror and I made a very small piece right here. I did so by hammer, and I think I took the piece and I hammered it until I got a small enough piece like this. And other things that we're going to need too is I'm using a plastic cup. Ignore the string in it. This was for a different experiment. We'll go over that some other time. But just a simple type of cup like this. If you don't have a clear one, that's fine. You can use a red Solo cup, something of the sort. And finally a rubber band. It doesn't matter, any type of rubber band. Alright, so I said that we're going to be building a device. We're going to be building a device so we can visualize sound. And there's a few different ways to produce sound, right? We can talk, we can bang things to make sound, we can use a speaker. We're going to be doing a few different things in the experiment. I'm using just a speaker we have at the house. I think that having a speaker, some sort of speaker, will help really well. The bigger the better. But if you don't, talking and other things will work for the experiment. So this is the device right now. Alright? And to go over what it is it's this cup right here. And we took a piece of this right here. Alright? We cut a portion of it. And what we did was we stretched it over the side of the cup. And before we did that, we actually cut the bottom of the cup out. So we made a slice in the cut right about, say, here, so that there's no bottom. And it wouldn't make a good cup for drinks. So when we made that cut, what we did is we stretched this over the edge and put some rubber bands on the outside. And you have to make sure that the piece of material isn't just placed over it, it's stretched over it. And then we put rubber bands to hold it in place. Okay? And then finally, we put some tape on the side so that we're able to station the cup when we need it. An important topic to mention here is sound waves, right? So when I speak, when a speaker is making sound, anything where you can hear something, what you're creating is a sound wave that travels through something. So when I'm speaking, my vocal cords are creating a sound wave that travels through the ear, and then it reaches your ears and your brain makes sense of it. Specifically, I produce it from my vocal cords and my larynx and some other parts in your neck, and your throat rather. But the point is that you produce it by vibrating. And that vibration will look something like this, say. And this, again, works for this. It's the same idea with the speaker, is you create a disturbance, all right? So see how that vibrates? And it vibrates very fast. Now, if it's really long like this, it vibrates differently. It vibrates slower but longer. So it's the same idea when you're talking. When you're making really low notes, like a low voice, the sound waves are going to be visualized something like this. But when you're talking really high up, something like this. All right? And what happens is, if it's in the air, if you're speaking in the air, if you're speaking underwater, if you're speaking through something, say a pillow, it's going to sound differently, right? Have you ever noticed that when you're speaking normally like this, but then I put my hand over my mouth? Sounds completely different. Have you ever tried talking underwater? You can't. The reason why is you're producing the same exact sound from your mouth, but the medium, what it travels through, is different, and that's going to affect how you perceive it and how you hear it. So what we're doing is we're going to be producing a sound. Say I'm going to be talking like this, or I'm going to be moving it, or we're going to put a speaker up to this cup. And the sound is going to travel through and hit the piece of latex, and that latex is then going to vibrate. All right? And we're going to see on a grand scale of things how that vibrates and how it makes different patterns. Really, really cool. The reason why I have a mirror on the end right here is that we're going to place a laser. All right? And this laser is going to hit the middle of the mirror, all right? Like that. And if you know anything about mirrors, when light hits the surface of a mirror, it reflects. And if you could see on the other end of the room, the light's going to reflect, all right? All right, so what I'm doing is I'm pointing the center of the laser, that circle. That's the only thing important. And if you had a regular laser pointer, you'd only have the circle, no line. I'm pointing it at the mirror. And what the laser does is it hits the mirror, and the mirror is very shiny, and it reflects it across the room. So if you were to look across the room, you would see actually a red dot moving everywhere. So you can see right now, this is on the other side of the room, I actually have the dot reflected. All right, so this is the laser's pointed at the mirror, and this is the reflected beam. Okay? All right, so now that we know that a laser will reflect off of the mirror and project somewhere else, what we're going to do is we're going to create sound on the other end of the cup. And what that sound is going to do is it's going to create those vibrations that I was telling you about, travel through the air, and then it actually hits this surface. So when it hits this surface, it causes this surface to vibrate too. You know, something like this. And this is actually exactly how a speaker works. Is a speaker pushes in outwards and inwards. And what that does is that creates a disturbance of air right around the speaker, and it causes those air molecules to create a sound wave, and that sound wave projects towards you. So we're going to be doing that, and that's tough to see, right? If we're just going to be looking at this, and we're going to be, you know, playing music on the other end, you can't see music. I mean, at least I can't. I don't know if you can. But we're going to make a way so we can see music, all right? So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna set things up perfectly so that I am at a very far distance away, and that my laser is set up so that it hits just the center of the mirror, stationary, all right? And then what I'm gonna do is place a speaker behind this cup, and this speaker right here actually, we're gonna place it behind the cup and line it up like this, so that the speaker, when it projects music, it projects all the way into the cup and makes this surface vibrate. And we're gonna see what happens to the reflected laser. Do you guys have any idea maybe what could happen? Do you think the laser is gonna stay in the same exact position, straight? Do you think it's gonna bounce up and down, make a circle, make a shape? We're gonna find out, all right? All right, so now that we know how to place our laser and where to look for the reflected beam, we're gonna set that up so that it's on a wall and it has plenty of space for the laser to reflect and move. And what you need to set the device up for is first you need to tape it to a book. As you can see, it's taped here now. But when you place it on a book, because the cup's actually has a larger diameter on this side, it falls down. So what I do is I actually just prop it up so it's flat. And that's key, that you want this next to perfectly flat, and you want the cup to hang off the edge. The reason why is we can get a really, really, really good area for the speaker to touch, because you want that speaker as close and perfectly flat to the cup as possible so that you can get as much of that sound wave in there, and then it's going to vibrate this surface like this. Alright, cool. So we can see our laser on the wall right now. All the lights are off, nice and dark. And what I'm going to do is I'm simply just going to tap the cup so that the cup can form a cool pattern. Let me do that now. Alright, so I thought the demonstration was very, very cool. I thought the patterns that we saw were not what I expected, and they were just funky. And, you know, if you don't have a speaker, or rather, if you have a speaker and you don't want to play music, try with completely different sounds. You know, it's kind of actually tough to play music really loud right now in my area, but if you could, you know, I don't know if you have family members that are really savvy with music, but if you could hook, you know, a guitar speaker up or a piano when you played individual notes, those look pretty interesting too, and they make very, very wild patterns. And the different types of music that you use will produce different patterns. Specifically, what I think works best is music that has a lot of thump to it, has a lot of bass, it has a lot of jump to it. So like a rap song or a pop song, even a rock song with like good drums, they actually produce really cool patterns. And the reason why actually is because those sound waves, the sound waves themselves are actually much longer and they produce a lot more energy. So they're gonna disturb that surface and vibrate the surface a lot more. But anyways, I'm just gonna show you quickly how I set it up, and I just used books. I mean, I think it's a good use if you're not studying with them. You can find another use for them. And the idea is that you have your laser. I'm gonna turn the laser on. And you have it on a bunch of books over to the side right here. And you put your cup, all right, on some other books at some distance away. And this is where the tape comes in handy. I taped to the edge of the book. And you line up the laser like this. And you can't see right now, but I have the laser lined up right in the center of the mirror actually. Like now. All right. So do you folks see how the laser right now is lined up in the center? If I move the laser to the left, it's over here. If I move it to the right, it's over here. When I put it right in the middle like that, the laser hits the mirror, and then it bounces back and projects somewhere else.